If only I knew how to ask about the weather in Spanish! It's only a matter of time before you will need to know how to speak about the weather in Spanish, especially if you're planning to travel to a Spanish-speaking country. ¡Qué calor está haciendo! Está haciendo mucho frío, ¿eh? El clima está bueno para ir a la playa. These are just some weather-related expressions you might hear, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what they mean. In this lesson, we will cover the basic vocabulary of essential Spanish weather-related words and their English translation. How to talk about the seasons. Weather-related Spanish verbs. How to describe the weather in Spanish like a native speaker. How to ask common questions about the weather in Spanish. And finally, common weather expressions and phrases. You may not be able to predict the weather, but by the end of this video, you will know how to talk about it. This is the weather in Spanish. Vocab, verbs, and phrases to know. Want to start having weather-related conversations with native speakers? Well, let's begin by learning the basic vocabulary. El clima or el tiempo simply means weather. La lluvia means rain. El viento means wind. El sol means sun. La nieve means snow. And la niebla means fog. This list is by no means all that there is. Check out our handy guide in the description below for way more weather words. Now that we know some basic vocabulary, let's take a look at two people complaining about the weather using some of these words. No me gusta el sonido de los truenos. I don't like the sound of the thunder. Pero el sol es muy brillante. But the sun's very bright. La inundación destruyó las casas del barrio. The flood destroyed the houses in the neighborhood. Ay, tú ganas. You win. Now, let's look at the seasons vocabulary in Spanish. Estaciones means seasons. La primavera means spring. El verano means summer. El otoño means autumn or fall. El invierno means winter. Now, let's use them in a sentence. Mi estación favorita es la primavera. Translates to, my favorite season is spring. Usualmente vamos a la playa en verano. Translates to, we usually go to the beach in the summer. En el otoño, las hojas caen. Translates to, in fall, the leaves fall. These are just a few examples of using the seasons in a sentence, but how do we build those sentences? It's time to start learning some verbs. Weather-related Spanish verbs. The following verbs are known as impersonal verbs or defective verbs, since they can only be conjugated in the third person singular, él, ella, and or usted. Llover means to rain. Nevar means to snow. Escampar means to stop raining or to clear up. Soplar means to blow. And diluviar means to pour. For a whole bunch more impersonal verbs, check out the guide in the description box below. Now, here are some examples of how to use these verbs in a sentence. Está empezando a nevar afuera, which translates to, it's starting to snow outside. Llueve mucho afuera. Ten cuidado translates to, it's raining a lot outside, be careful. Se nubló el camino y no pudimos ver nada. Translates to, the road clouded over and we could not see anything. Okay, we've covered the basics, but if you really want to sound like a native speaker, check this out. How to describe the weather in Spanish like a native speaker. Native Spanish speakers tend to base weather conversations on three main verbs that you should already know. In this context, we'll explore how they describe the weather in Spanish. These verbs are estar, which means to be, hacer, which means to make or to do, and haber, which means there is. But how do you know when each verb is used for the topic? The rule of thumb for each one is hace from hacer is usually used to describe the general sensation of weather. It's used to describe what the weather does. For example, it's warm, it's cold, or it's windy. Está from estar is usually used to talk about a non-permanent state because the weather varies a lot in this world. For example, it's rainy or cloudy. I from haber indicates that there's some kind of exciting weather. For example, it's windy. Literally, there is wind. Let's see some examples of these verbs in action. Our first verb is estar, which means to be. A couple of quick weather examples using estar are está soleado, which translates to it is sunny, and está nublado, which translates to it is cloudy. Now, for a deep dive on estar that would really help you grasp the concepts in this lesson, check out our video all about estar right here. Our next verb is hacer, to do and or make. Hace mucho calor, which means it is very hot. Hace mucho frío, which means it is very cold. Hace viento means it is windy. Hace muy buen tiempo means the weather is very good. Hace muy mal tiempo means the weather is very bad. And our last verb is haber, which means there is. Hay lluvia, there is rain. Hay sol, it is sunny. Hay nieve, there is snow. Hay viento, it is windy. Hay calor, it is warm. Hay frío, it is cold. Now, let's take a look at these verbs in action. El cielo está despejado, vamos a caminar. Translates to the sky is clear, let's go for a walk. Hace mucho calor afuera, no quiero salir. Translates to it is boiling outside, I don't want to go out. Hay granizo y lluvias torrenciales en la ciudad donde vive mi familia. There is hail and pouring rain in the city where my family lives. Okay, so now we know how to describe the weather, but what about asking questions about the weather? Common questions about the weather in Spanish. Here are a few common questions you can use to ask about the weather. We have, ¿qué tiempo hace? ¿Qué clima hace? Which is how you ask, what's the weather like? ¿Qué tiempo hace hoy? Or, ¿qué clima hace hoy? Translates to, what's the weather like today? Asking, ¿cómo está el tiempo? Or, ¿cómo está el clima? means, how is the weather? Asking, ¿cómo está el tiempo hoy? Or, ¿cómo está el clima hoy? means, how is the weather today? And, ¿cuál es el pronóstico para mañana? means, what's the forecast like for tomorrow? For more examples of common questions about the weather, check out our guide in the description box below. Here are some examples of a simple conversation regarding the weather. ¿Está lloviendo? Is it raining? Sí, hay un chaparrón afuera. Yes, there's a downpour outside. Here's another one. Hola mamá, ¿cuál es el pronóstico para mañana? Quiero ir a la playa. Hi mom, what's the forecast like tomorrow? I want to go to the beach. The mother responds, Mañana estará el día nublado y ventoso. No creo que puedas ir. Tomorrow will be cloudy and windy. I don't think you can go. Then we have, ¿cómo está el clima hoy? How is the weather like today? Hoy está soleado y hace mucho calor. It's sunny and very hot today. Then the person can respond, Es perfecto para ir a la piscina. It is perfect to go to the pool. I bet you want to have conversations about the weather with your Spanish-speaking friends, neighbors, and colleagues, right? Well, don't worry. To conclude our lesson, we are going to look at some common weather expressions and phrases. You can use these expressions for upping your game when talking about the weather in Spanish, and, of course, prepare to impress. Common weather expressions and phrases. Me muero de calor, or me muero de frío. That's how you would say, I'm dying of heat or cold. Me estoy congelando. I'm freezing. Hace un frío que pela. It's so cold it burns your skin. No hay ni una nube. Means there is not a cloud in the sky. Parece que será un día muy caluroso. Translates to, it seems it'll be a scorcher. And we have parece un horno. Translates literally to, the heat, seems like an oven. And now, it's time for the most famous weather expression of them all. Llueve a cántaros. Llueve a mares. Está cayendo un palo de agua. All of these mean it is raining cats and dogs. And if you're looking to become conversational in Spanish, then why not schedule your first BaseLang class today? At BaseLang.com, you can get access to unlimited one-on-one Spanish classes with native speaking teachers, all via Zoom. Try your first week for only $1. Whew! Talking about the weather is a great way to strike up a conversation, but it's not the only way. Check out 5 different phrases to strike up a conversation in Spanish. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next lesson.